worth is not in what I own, not in the strength of flesh and bone, but in the costly wounds of love at the cross. My worth is not in skill or name, in win or lose, in pride or shame, but in the blood of Christ that flowed at the cross. I rejoice in my Redeemer, greatest treasure, wellspring of my soul. I will trust in Him, no other. My soul is satisfied in Him alone. As summer flies, we fade and die. Fame, youth, and beauty hurry by, but life eternal calls to us at the cross. In darkest places I will call. Incline your ear to me anew, and hear my cry for mercy, Lord. Were you to count my sinful ways, how could I come before your throne? Yet for forgiveness meets my gaze, I stand redeemed by grace alone. And I will wait for you, I will wait for you on your word. I will rely, and I will wait for you, surely wait for you, till my soul is satisfied. So put your hope in God alone. Take courage in His power to save, completely and forever one. By Christ emerging from the grave, I will wait for you, I will wait for you on your word. I will rely, I will wait for you, surely wait for you, till my soul is satisfied. Now He has come to make a way, and God Himself has paid the price, that all who trust in Him today find healing in His sacrifice. That all who trust in Him today find healing in His sacrifice. I will wait for you, I will wait for you, through the storm, through the night. I will wait for you, surely wait for you, for
make a layout, actually give the papers to the ladies attending the National Scrapbook Day here in Port Elizabeth on the 27th of January 2018. So I grabbed a green, beautiful Simple Stories paper, a piece of paper from Fancy Pants, Nautical, half a sheet of craft, a few other little elements, flour, etc., and I put it into a pack for 80 ladies, and I decided that I will teach the class online. So I'm taking my green background and I am applying Prima Finnabar white crackle paste through a stencil. Now you'll see that I'm struggling a little bit here because there are some hard pieces in my crackle paint which I haven't used for about a year. Now crackle texture paint dries, so if you don't close your pots properly, it will make hard pieces inside, and this is what's happened to me. We all tend to buy lots of products, but we have to use it. You can see me picking out the hard pieces there, and I'm just showing you how it cracked inside my jar. I commit to using this more often. I've put that aside to dry, and now in the packs that the ladies got, they had brown flowers and cream flowers, and all I'm doing is I'm simply layering the little flowers on top of each other, piercing a hole through, and with the brads in the pack I'm adhering the little layers to each other. You can see there I've got a cream and a brown and then another cream and a brown, and I'm putting a little brad in and I'm just fluffing the flowers up. Here you can see that I'm cutting the back ends of the brads off with my Tim Holtz scissors. The reason I'm doing this is that some of the flowers are really small and the brads have long legs, and I don't want the legs to stick out from underneath my flowers. So they cut off really easily and you won't damage your scissors if you do that. So don't be scared of doing that. Now I'm applying some Tombow glue to the back of all the flowers, and I'm leaving this to become repositionable because I would really like to be able to move them if I'm not happy with where they are. In the packs were these interesting metallic plastic things, embellishments, but they have little strings with which they're attached to each other. The quickest and easiest way for me to get the pieces of string off is to just sand it off using a sanding block, because once you start cutting it's like almost never ending because you need really fine tipped scissors to cut it perfectly. So the sanding block works fine for me. I thought maybe I should trim the two pieces of paper a bit smaller because they are exactly 6 by 12. I think the craft was slightly bigger, and this one I think I'm cutting about 8.5 inches. There you can see how beautifully the crackle paste has started to crackle, and I'm just kind of getting a feel here of where I want to go with my page. This one I think I cut to about 9.5 or 10 inches. So that it can back my blue and my photo, be the little bed for the main feature, of course, which should always be your photos. You can see that I'm positioning and I'm not 100% sure where I want to go. I want my stencil work to show off, but I also want a good composition. That craft cardstock was just a bit too big, so I trimmed off just about 0.5 centimeter. I'm going to be doing some random stamping onto the page now, and I'm using VersaFine Smoky Grey. The reason I'm using the smoky grey and not the black is because I felt the black would be too harsh. I'm not using a stamping block because I just want this to be nice and soft and random, and also because the texture paste actually has texture, it won't stamp perfectly and then might just drive you crazy. Sorry, that's my email coming in. I'm using this, I think it's Hessian texture if you look at it properly. If you see what I'm doing, I'm just randomly stamping here and there some elements on the page, on the background. and you can see that I actually positioned my photo and my elements, but now I'm looking and I'm thinking that I'm hiding most of it. So I'm not quite happy. I promise you, I was looking at this and I thought, no, I'm not happy with this. There you can see I took a break and I decided that I'm going to have a portrait layout. I'm using my Prima distressing tool to distress the edges of my papers. You can use a pair of scissors or you can use a yarn cutter. That works really, really well. I recently acquired this tool, so I'm still getting used to it. I have a Tim Holtz distressing tool, which I love, but I simply cannot find it at the moment. Okay, so I'm happy with where I'm going to put my papers and my photo, and now it's time to apply the adhesive. I decided to take out my Aleene's tacky glue, but I haven't used it for a while, so it has a little thing in there, and you can see that to get that hard piece out, I literally have to take off the lid or the squeezing part and then squeeze with a pin from the back so that I can push that out. Otherwise we keep on pushing the hard piece inside to our glue and it'll just keep coming out. I'm positioning my flowers. You can see that I'm fooling around with them. I'm moving some, taking them away, putting them back. I'm also putting those little elements, those plastic bling things, I do love them, in there. And I think I'm just going to move some of my flowers around because I'm not quite happy with all those green ones next to each other, and you can see there I'm trying to figure out if I should put another flower, and then I'm trying to get not all the brads with the same color next to each other. Sorry, I've got a little frog in my throat tonight. Eventually I think I ended up being happy with it, but I felt I needed more stamping. What's nice about using the Aleene tacky glue that doesn't dry immediately like double-sided tape is that you still have some open time, so you can reposition and you can lift before it dries completely. Now I want to add some splatters to my layout. I'm using ground espresso distress ink that I'm misting with water, and I'm using a fan brush. Angerie was here from Australia, and she actually said to us that a fan brush does the best splats. So immediately I had to go out and buy a fan brush. I will be stocking them in the shop. It works fabulously. So I have to leave that to dry now. I found a title in my drawer that says "Love This," and I'm using a finger dauber to ink it. It's really hard sometimes if you press the ink directly because you tend to hurt your chipboard, but if you use a finger dauber you've just got a little bit more control. I felt I needed something glittery on my title, so I simply squeezed some stickles out and I'm just rubbing it onto my title using my best tool, my finger. You can add as little or as much as you want. I simply just added a little bit, and now I'm just quickly drying it with the heat gun. Don't apply too much heat on your cutting mat because it will wobble, okay, and we don't want it to wobble. Putting some Tombow glue at the back so that it becomes repositionable, and now I'm moving on to the string that was in the kit. Remember that little piece that I cut off from the craft cardstock? Now I'm simply taking a 6mm double-sided tape, putting it on the one side, pulling it off, and I'm wrapping the string around this piece just to create a fun element on my page. You can see I didn't have enough string to cover the whole thing, but I didn't want a long one like that in any case. I'm neatening or tidying up the ends here. I'm going to be putting some Tombow on the back, leave it to become repositionable, and then I will apply it to the project. So what I'm doing here, I've put my title on. My video actually stopped recording for a while, but you can see that I've put that piece with the string there, and I'm simply adding champagne mist all-purpose ink over my title because I wanted to give it a shimmer. I've also added some art stones that I'm painting now. I simply applied those using soft gel or any gel medium and putting the little art stones on, and now I'm coloring them. You can use any medium to color the art stones because they are already prepared to accept color. So I'm just dabbing some of my ground espresso distress ink that I've mixed with a little bit of water and a fine paintbrush. I am coloring the art stones. This really adds a fabulous effect to your project. It's really a small detail, but you know, it's in those little details I find sometimes that it makes a big difference. You know, I'm not a detailed scrapper, but I love the little details. Now I'm adding some sparks. It's also a Prima product, and it just adds a little bit of spark to your project. I think this one is called Mermaid something, and it's got a blue tint. So because the photo was taken at the beach, I thought it would be good to get some of the waves sparkle in there. I'm using my Lera Aquarelle graphite pencil now just to make a frame around the page. This pencil is water soluble. You can see I'm taking my water brush and I'm simply wetting that border that I created, and once it's dry it will have a fabulous watercolor effect. And that is basically it for the page. Really quick, really easy. I hope you enjoyed this class, and see you again.
gift of grace is Jesus, my Redeemer. There is no more for heaven now to give. He is my joy, my righteousness and freedom, my steadfast love, my deep and boundless peace. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. For my life is wholly bound to His. Oh, how strange and divine, I can sing all is mine, yet not I, but through Christ in me.
Hello everyone, I was fortunate enough to be able to play with the new Celebrate Core collections, and the first layout I decided to do was using the pink, the orange and some of the new earth tones core papers. I've printed some photos that I've been keeping for more than a year, and I'm quite excited to finally have papers that they are matching. I'm trimming some of the paper's border strips. I don't know if I'm going to use these in the end, but for now I'm just having a look at which ones might work with my photos. I've printed the photos smaller than a standard 10 centimeter by 15 centimeter, and now I'm just trimming off the white borders and I'm sanding the edges. You can see there what a difference the sanded edges make. I do love sanding the edges of my photos. I feel that it just pops them. Now I'm cutting all my mattings. It's a lot easier if you've got lots of photos that are the same size to simply cut the mattings and then mat all your photos. I know lots of people stick down the photos and then try and trim around the photos, but after years of always trying to find a quick solution to things, that's the one I've come up with. I decided to take out my ATG tape runner. The glue was actually quite sticky, but I loved using it again, and there you can see I'm simply matting the photos after I inked the edges with a nice blue ink, just to define the mats a little bit more, because they're just small little mats. Okay, now I'm figuring out which papers to use for the background, and I'm also just randomly trimming some paper to size. I've cut some of the journaling cards, but none of them in the end made the cut because they didn't really match the feel and the theme of the photos. I love these papers that have a third and a third and a third of a different design. I think it's fun. I don't think we always want to use a whole chevron page, but the patterns are quite nice, and I think that it just adds some interest to the pages. You can see how I've cut the blue strips just because I've got the blue from the water, and in the photos there's lots of blue. What makes this collection so nice is that all the colors are really vibrant, so you can put anything together. Now I've assembled my page, and I've noticed that those flowers didn't really do it for me, so I'm taking another plain orange and I'm going to use that as my background. You can see there I'm assembling the layout again. For those of you who are worried about measurements, you can buy the sketch. It's available here on Create with Carino, so that you can see exactly what the measurements are for my papers. I'm applying Tombow adhesive to all my pieces, and I'm allowing it to become tacky, which makes it repositionable. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but this glue that I always use is really fantastic. Can't get enough of it. There I quickly took a piece of paper away just to trim the edge nicely, and this little border strip has more pink on the one side than on the other side, so I want to trim it down. I'm using my Fisker's trimmer, and I'm using a piece of washi tape or masking tape just to keep the little piece in place, and I'm simply cutting a V in it. We'll see if I use that in the end. Now I'm adhering my pieces of paper to the project to create my background. For those of you who know me, I always create a background, or mostly, and then I simply add my photos to my custom background. The fact that I've printed these photos smaller, just slightly smaller, means that I can actually fit more in on a page and still have room for maneuvering and for adding embellishments. You can see that I was going to put that blue strip vertically, but I've decided now to put it horizontally, and I just trimmed off a little edge. The new core chipboards are fantastic, which means that we can get them the whole year round. I'm going to use that Oh Happy Day for my title, and then I love those stars, and I'm also going to be painting them. I spoiled myself, and I bought myself this Kuretake Ganzi Tambi watercolor set. I have been eyeing this for almost a year, and they were on promotion. I think there's still some stock left at the shop, and I bought myself a set. These paints are fabulous. As you can see, I've just opened the set for this project, and I mean the orange, pink and blue, it's as if it was made for this layout. I'm simply applying the color to my chipboard. To make it darker, you would have to wait for the first layer to just dry. There's no use applying color and color and color over something that is wet. You'll just move the ink around. To speed up the process, I'm drying it with my heat gun. There you can see how beautifully intense the colors are when I hold it over a white piece of paper. I want to apply glossy accents, Anitas, or whatever you want to use over my title, but because it's purely watercolor, it will actually stain the nib of my glossy accents. So I need to seal the color in, because remember, watercolor is not permanent. I'm using the Prima Finnabar Soft Matte Gel for this purpose. Yes, some of my color will slightly lift, but it gives it a beautiful two-tone and light and dark, which enables me now to add glossy accents. You can see there I'm applying the glossy accents. I'm actually taking my time with this because it's a very detailed chipboard, and I don't want the glossy accent or Anitas to go over the edges. So you can see there I've got my big toothpick thingy, and I always have that when I'm applying these products. I'm painting my stars now, just random colors, adding two tones to some of them, and I'm sealing these as well using the same process with the matte gel. Applying my Tombow, leaving it to become repositionable, and in the meantime I'm going and over to applying my flowers. I love these little flowers. They're so vibrant, and there's lots in a pack, and they're perfect for this project. So I'm simply positioning them where I think they should go, and then I'm applying Tombow glue to the back of the flowers and leaving it to also become repositionable. You can see that I'm cutting my chipboard by turning it around. It's got Tombow on the back, and simply nibbing off those little edges that keep it in place. Makes it really easy to apply these elements to your page. If you take them out of this little frame before you color them, you find that they will move around and you tend to break them. I'm simply adding my flowers to the project now. The fact that the Tombow glue has become repositionable makes it easy if you want to lift something and remove it and place it in a different area. I always like to add some of these chipboard frames to my projects if the project lends itself to it. So I'm just quickly grabbing my leftover frame and I'm painting it blue in the same manner as I did with all the other chipboard. Sealed it as well. I don't think I filmed that, and then I also covered it with Anitas / glossy accents. Okay, it just gives a coherent look. I didn't put the Anitas on all the chipboard elements. I actually just added it randomly so that some of the accents can be highlighted and some of them are a bit more dull. Hope you enjoyed this class. See you next time. Bye.